Let's install a solo detachable barbecue rack on my Harley-Davidson Icon Revival. Let's get cracking. Good Moto morning. Welcome to another episode of Kraken's Garage. I'm your host, Eric, and on Kraken's Garage, we discuss all good things on 2 and 3 wheels and some scooter content. Today, we're going to do a very easy install on a solo seat rear rack that's detachable from Harley-Davidson for my Harley-Davidson Icon Revival. We have much to cover today, so let's get to it. First off, as I always do when I install any OEM part for any manufacturer of any bike, we review where it comes from in its country of origin. This particular rack is, according to their sticker, I'll throw a picture up here on the screen, is packaged in the USA with parts from USA, China. Okay, there's only one part in the box. I wonder which part came from China. The quick detach kit, you get a bag of bits and a couple of pieces that will go into a removable blank on each fender of the bike, and they are made in Taiwan. So there you have it. I stopped by my local dealer to buy the kit. I got the detachable rack for Christmas from Mrs. Kraken, but I needed to sort out which detachable kit because this is such an unusual bike. I need to make sure everything plays well with each other in the sandbox. And I spoke with Kim, so a big shout out to Kim over at Stonewall Harley-Davidson in Orange, Virginia. She always sets me straight. She rocks. So if you guys and gals are in this neck of the woods and need parts help, she's my go-to person. And Kim and I had a very in-depth conversation because there's 2 different kits that are available to install this detachable rack. One is a 4-point hitch and one is a 2-point hitch. If you ever want to go with a pinion seat or a rear passenger seat on it, then you would need the 4-point kit to install a different rack. This one won't work with a pinion seat, it'll only work with the solo seat. 99% of my riding is only solo, so this will work for more often than not my applications. There's a very nice couple that are moving to Arizona right now. Their names are Andrea and Warren, and they started the Harley-Davidson Icon Revival Registry on Facebook. I will have a picture up here and a link down below. If you own a Harley-Davidson Icon, you should probably join up. There's some wonderful information on there from people all over the globe of only 1,500 of us that own this particular bike. I tip my hat to Andrea and Warren for starting this, and I have more on them coming up in the next week or 2 soon. Originally, I was just planning on keeping the bike solo, but somebody posted on this Facebook group that they commandeered La Pera to make a suitable seat. I'll throw some pictures up here. I hope the gentleman doesn't mind I'm sharing his pictures. But he had posted this on this Facebook group, and it looks like they did a cracker of a job getting the seat to match for a passenger back seat. So in my discussion, where I'm going with this, in my discussion with Kim, I went with the 4-point hitch release, quick detach release, because I have the option of always going with a rear passenger seat and then putting a different rack on it later on down the road if I choose to march in that band. So that's important information. I should also mention that both of these racks and the hardware are available in chrome or in black. I'll throw the directions up on the screen here. You can pause if you want to read them. So very briefly, we'll throw them up there if it helps somebody in their journey on an FLH and installing a solo rack. First thing, remove your saddlebags, then remove these rubber inserts where the detachable gear goes. This is super simple. There's basically a left and right hand side that you need to determine which side which one goes to. The docking points need to be faced outwards towards the saddlebags. And if you slip it right in there, it should line up with the pre-existing holes for mounting already. Now to install this, Harley-Davidson recommends that you use thread lock, and they recommend that you use Loctite 262, which is a high-strength thread lock and sealant. It's known as red thread lock. Honestly, I don't think it needs red thread lock. I'm going to use blue, which is a medium thread lock. If you use red, just remember, you are permanently installing the bolt. They are very difficult to get out. Second note, this is using a T45 Torx head. I'm not a fan of Torx head because not so much on these large bolts, but on the small bolts, they'll mince the heads of the screws up in a heartbeat. Why I'm also not a fan of Torx is because you can use the next size down and it'll work, but it'll have a little bit of slop in there, so you get a false positive that you think you're using the right Torx head. So always go one size up to see if it will fit versus the one you're about to select. Remember, always use a torque wrench. So we're going to set this to 20 foot-pounds torque, which is what we need here, or if you prefer, 27.1 Newton meters to torque these two screws down. This part can be a little confusing. It's actually a very simple task, but basically we're going to install the docking points. And if you take a look, one side is thicker than the other. Where a lot of people make a mistake is they'll install it the wrong side first. Now we're going to use these chrome flatheads to install the docking points. Once again, we're going to use a Torx. In this case, it is a T30 for the rear ones. There's two different docking points here, and one is quite a bit longer. That's the one we're going to start with that uses the spacer. Now for the longer pin, first goes on a washer. What I don't understand is why Harley provided such a large hole opening for this washer. You got a lot of slack and play in there, but we'll center it as best we can. Then you put your spacer on. Remember, this is the longer of the two pins. And then we'll install the thick flange first, and then we'll install the screw to hold it all together. And as you start to snug it up, just kind of hold that washer that has the slop in it kind of centered. Washer first, thick flange, side first. Already applied some thread lock, blue thread lock. Now we're going to do the same for the other side. And we only left those snug. We have not torqued them down yet, and I'll explain that in just a moment. Harley-Davidson recommends that you use blue Loctite for these, not the red. Be generous with it because they carry a heavy load back here. Okay, if you remember, we left these just snug. So what we do is we want them loose. What we're going to do is trial fit. Now what Harley doesn't really explain very well in the directions is your first reaction is to mount it to these 4 points. That's incorrect. The two front mounting points are actually on the top of the shock absorbers. So we're going to put them in there. In this case, my made in China rack isn't too happy about fitting in there, so we're going to use a rubber mallet to get them seated in there. And then we're going to swing it down and see if we can get it to seat properly. Okay, we've got her seated on there. The correct torque settings for these 4 bolts, 14.2 Newton meters or 126 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. A couple of things. When you, just a footnote, whenever you use a torque wrench, try not to use extensions unless you have to. If you have to, you have to. But every extension or knuckle that you put on it to get at the bolt to torque it to the right setting compromises the Newton meters or inch-pounds or foot-pounds of torque that you put on it because of all that slop in there. So try to put the socket and nothing else on your torque wrench. There you have it. You have the barbecue rack. It is definitely not going anywhere. And I'll share a few thoughts after my installation here at the end of the video in just a second. She looks good though. So my final thoughts on this project, on a scale of 1 to 3 mullets, 1 mullet being the easiest and 3 mullets being the hardest, this is a 1 mullet job. It's super easy. It's a feel-good moment to wrench on your bike and save a $100 bill. Not taking it into the shop to install something of this nature. So don't be afraid to give that a try. Some basic tools, ratchet, some Torx bits, and a torque wrench, and you're good to go. My feelings on this particular kit, part of it made in Taiwan, part made in China. I want to say the barbecue rack was, I don't know, 300 something. I'll put the price up here. And the docking kit was like 175 bucks. You're into it almost a half a grand just to install this. Regarding the tolerances, maybe I just got a bad apple, but mine, I had to fight it to quick attach it or quick detach it. And I do mean fight it. You are busting your knuckles to get the darn thing off and on. One thumb up, one thumb down on quality control on that in China and Taiwan. Harley. The only extra parts I have are the 2 rubber spacers that went in the slots on the fender where we installed the brackets. That's the good news. Normally I have a plethora of bolts. I normally put them in Ziploc bag and write exactly on the bag, 2021 Icon Revival, rear rack install, leftover parts, and then I throw it in a box of stuff that goes with the bike. So if I ever sell the bike or whatever, the next owner can have every single nut and bolt that went to it in case they want to convert it back to the way it came off the showroom. Just food for thought. It's a good idea. And this week's shout out to all my end watchers goes to Smitty Independent Freedom. Smitty has 332 subs, 165 videos out, so he's been putting out quite a bit of content. His most recent video, he has been doing live streams, and he did one with VS Chick, another Australian motovlogger. He's in Australia as well. What I like about that is he's not just hardcore Harley. VS Chick rides a 2016 Kawasaki Vulcan S650, and he was more than happy to have her on his live stream and talk about her adventures, successes on rolling with that Kawasaki Vulcan. So well done, Smitty. He's rocking a Harley-Davidson wide glide. He's into dirt bikes as well. His motto is personal rides, videos, independence, enjoying his freedom. He loves videos to show everyone overseas our awesome country here in Australia. He has added Fish On and 4x4 and Pub Time episodes as well. Cheers, Smitty. And those are his words. He does some fishing videos. He also is getting into off-roading and 4x4, off-roading in a truck, that type of thing. Jeeping, I guess you would call it here in the US. I don't know. Appreciate it. What I like about Smitty is there is no frills with this man. What you see is what you get. And he just serves it up, and he's the same dude every episode. And for that, I love him. He's a great dude. I hope you go check him out. And if you do, be sure to let him know that Kraken sent you. And with that said, there's my ghost dog, Bourbon. He is here to remind me to wrap up this video. If you would like to become a Patreon, the link is down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, hit that subscribe button right in the corner. And remember, folks, go riding. It's good for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.